Welcome to the Writing with Purpose podcast, where I, Anna Woolliscroft, chat with fellow writers and outdoor enthusiasts about how we can embrace creativity and curiosity to live a life full of adventure that doesn't feel like hard work. I delve into exploratory conversations about my two loves in life, writing and nature connection, as part of my mission to share the well-being benefits they both bring. It's wonderful to have you here today. On today's podcast, how can we gain clarity in motion and a sense of direction in life? This is what I chat about with life and wellbeing coach Rebecca Norton to unpick that all-important question. Okay, hi, good morning, Rebecca, and welcome to the Writing with Purpose podcast. Thank you very much for joining me this morning. I'm quite excited to speak to you about everything outdoors and creative. It was interesting, actually. I was reading your bio, and you said that you've never really worked a 9 to 5, and you've had quite a few different changes in career. And I thought, that's speaking my language there, because I'm exactly the same. So your business is a sense of direction, and you're a life and well-being coach. And you've got a big focus on the outside, the great outdoors, which I'm really looking forward to delving into a little bit more depth with you. So I've also, your idea to become a life coach came to you while you were on a walk, didn't it, outside?
It did, yeah.
And that's a big area of inspiration for me as well, just getting outside. So do you want to just sort of introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about what led up to, that change in career for you?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so as you said, I'm Rebecca. I live in Sheffield and very proud to be Yorkshire. I think that's part of my identity. I do like that, it's got a bit of everything in this county, and I think that's sort of what's helped me develop that love for the outdoors. As a family, we were always very outdoorsy sort of family and everything. And yeah, as you mentioned, I've done all sorts of different things. I've got many interests. I get interested in lots of different things. So mine will get pulled off and think, oh, I'll do that, I'll do this. And I suppose I got started in the outdoor sector when I was in my early 20s, I think it was. And so I went and studied outdoor education for a little bit. And so it's always been there in the background.
So what was that with, Rebecca? Sorry, outdoor education. Was that for schools, or was that adults at the time?
Well, it was just an NVQ in outdoor education, basically, that I studied at West Notts College. And I was very lucky, really, because at that time there was still quite a bit of funding around for different things. So we got quite a few funded training courses within that. So we did a bit of everything, basically, a bit of rock climbing, mountain biking, water sports, walking, potholing, literally a bit of everything.
Wow.
It was one of those things that pushed my comfort zone right from the start. It's weird because I always think, how do I get into these things? I'm not that keen on heights particularly, and the text today that I went to found myself, that's where the story comes from on my I don't know whether you've seen it on my website, on the first bit about me and the coaching. So that's the day where I found myself climbing up this sort of telegraph pole attached to ropes, obviously, and jumping off, basically.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, I'm not sure that I've chosen the right course. It's just the start of pushing my comfort zone. It was exhilarating but terrifying at the same time. So, and I think I've always been willing to push myself physically, and I suppose that links to psychological as well. And so the outdoors has given me many pleasures, and many experiences that's helped to develop me as a person. And I just remember one day particularly, I can't remember all the ins and outs, but I remember going for a walk around Langsett Reservoir and just thinking, I love walking. I love the fact that I get so much out of it, and that it helps me clear my head. My thoughts feel less tangled, the stress melts away. I'd love to be able to help other people experience this as well. And I think sort of life coaching had been on my radar in other ways. I think I'd read an article about it or whatever, and I thought, what a wonderful way this would be to get people to have some life coaching, but to experience it in the great outdoors. And that's where the idea planted its seed. It took a while before I got my business up and running and you know, where it is now. But that was the initial seed for that idea. Yeah, so it was just, I want to be able to share this with other people and help them experience that as well.
Yeah, it's a lovely feeling, isn't it, when you realize actually this is what I'm gaining, and the benefits and that clarity and the curiosity, and even your company name, sense of direction. There's kind of a metaphor there really for
Yeah,
life and for business, and that can really tap into the great outdoors, and it sort of ignites our senses. So we see things, we hear things, we smell things, we can feel things,
yeah,
reactions in our body, as well as the thoughts and the clarity, the ideas in our heads, and the clarity as well. So yeah, it's fascinating. And you also mentioned something about what is it, Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway,
oh yeah,
by
yeah.
Susan Jeffers, which is, so if I could just bring sort of that, your experience there, your great outdoors, into the reading element as well. And I've heard about this book from a few people, but I've never actually read it myself.
Gotta
So
read
what I'll
it.
have to put it in on Audible. I've just got I have an annual subscription, and it's just renewed, so I've got 13 credits now. So I'll have to download it and have a listen. But yeah, what sort of, for someone that hasn't read that book, and is thinking about, life coaching, wellbeing coaching, or something in the outdoor industry, what was it that kind of really struck you from that book?
I got introduced to that book around about my 20s, I think. I can't remember. I think I'd had a bit of a challenging time. I think it was just that transition into adulthood and what have you. And somebody recommended that book. I think I was quite shy when I was younger, and I wasn't very good at putting myself out there and all that. And reading that book coincided with me doing the Camp America program. So I did that for two
Ah,
summers. So I took that book with me, and it became sort of a slogan of the summer: feel the fear and do it anyway, for me and for the other people that I was working with. And it was the first time that I'd been introduced to that personal development type
yeah,
stuff. And I don't know, it was very practical, very easy reading. There's nothing particularly technical in there or anything like that. And she just had some really helpful ideas to help me understand myself a bit better, but also give me some tools to go out there and do it anyway, and some really sort of key things around the fear will never go away
yeah,
unless you go and address it, and it was things like that. So I think it was the combination of reading the book and being on the Camp America program. That was the first time that I'd been away from home for an extended period of time, and I was really homesick for the first couple of days. I
yeah,
just missed everything about home. I was thrown into this bizarre, well, it felt very bizarre to me, environment, surrounded by people that I didn't know, who were mainly Americans, who were very American, beautiful people, but Americans are notoriously loud and just
yeah,
out there, and it's like, what am I doing, but after that first few days, that was it. I got the travel bug, and I never looked back. I went back to the same camp the following summer then, and did quite a bit of traveling after that for quite a while. So yeah, that book I think was the catalyst, but I think in combination with actually going and doing it, feel and fear and do it
mm,
anyway. And it just boosted my confidence, my belief in myself. And I remember getting back after that summer, and this might sound a really stupid thing to some people, but in a pub with a friend, being able to go up to the bar and order my own meal. Before then, I'd always let somebody else go and do it for me or speak
mm,
for me or whatever. But I went up there without, any doubts or concerns, and just ordered my own meal. And that for me, it's like, wow, I could see my own growth. It's simple things like that where we can tell that we've moved on. You know.
yeah. Yeah, well done you. Yeah. I was listening to something the other day, and it said confidence comes when you can see progress. So you'd seen progress in yourself, and it was no longer an issue for you to go and order that own meal. But I mean, yeah, some people that, facing the fear, you really did do that. You left everybody, you went to a completely different continent. You were still quite young. I mean, I did something very similar because I went to work on cruise ships.
Oh,
So I was a little bit older than you. I think I was you said early 20s. I was 26, I think, when I went. But yeah, I mean, reading a book like that in your early 20s is quite a young start, really, as far as personal development goes, isn't it? I do remember my dad having some, this shows my age now, having a set of tapes
mm,
in a padded sort of cassette box, if
yeah,
you like, with personal development. I was like, oh, this is rubbish. Just it doesn't mean anything to me. So I think my journey with personal development really probably started a decade later in my 30s, but certainly that confidence piece and that being able to just go up and speak to other people and do things that, beforehand I'd always sort of stayed at the back a little bit. I mean, I've always been more of a, well, let's people watch a little bit, let's see what's going on, judge the situation a little bit more. So always been very cautious, I would say, which I think is still a good trait.
yeah.
But having the confidence of just being able to go and do that, yeah, hats off to you. I think it's amazing. And I think when people are that age or even a bit younger, if they can go and work away, in a different country, have access to a different culture or cultures, learn things, realize that, there's other perspectives and it's not just your way. It's so valuable to people. It really is.
Yeah,
So I think it's a great story. And it sounds as though, a lot of that curiosity, if you like, being outside, trying new things, adventure has kind of been in your blood all your life.
yeah, I suppose it has to some extent. I used to love just playing in the garden and building dens and things as well. So just, yeah, definitely being
Yeah.
outdoors. Yeah,
Yeah, brilliant. So you do you offer quite a lot for your clients now. You offer one-to-one sessions, group sessions. You've got the clarity in motion, which is half a day outside, isn't it? Which
yeah.
I'd love how you refer to that as an experience. So what sort of experience can people expect? Because it's definitely something that you see more of, I think, now where people can go outside on a one-to-one session or in a group session. But I think it's still relatively unheard of, certainly in the corporate space.
Yeah.
So what kind of thing can people expect from an outdoor session with you?
It's a different type of energy. I think that's what I like about it. It's a different energy when you're outdoors. And when you're walking with people, you're side by side rather than sat opposite each other, which is your traditional sort of coaching or therapy thing or whatever. So I think right from the offset, it's a different type of energy, it's a different type of space. And I'm a big believer in the physical space around us makes a difference to how we think and how we process things. So when we're stuck in a room with four walls, the space, sorry, is physically constrained. When we're outdoors, we've got that space around us, and somehow I just find that the thoughts flow more easily. We're tapping into other sources of information. We can use the environment around us for that inspiration. I love the outdoors for metaphors for life. There are so many metaphors for life in the outdoors, and there's being able to tap into that a little bit. So the clarity immersion, again, that was sort of the original aim of my business, was to do more of that. And in some respects, it's morphed into other things now, but um, take people through sort of a 4-step process. So I always ask them to bring a topic with them. So it might be a specific problem or a specific thing that they want to work on, or it might just be a topic. And then I'll guide them through sort of a typical coaching type thing, but in the outdoors. And rather than them talking through their ideas, because it's a small group setting, sort of no more than sort of 4 or 5 people maximum, I encourage them to write down their answers. So we'll walk for a little while, we'll stop, find a nice place to stop where we've got a good view, and I will literally just reel off some questions for them, and they write down their answers. So there's 2 things about that. One, I always encourage people to write them down, because I think, and obviously you'll be aware of this with yourself with writing, I think it helps you to just process things in a slightly different way rather than speaking them. So actually writing them, and I just encourage them, don't filter it, just write what comes to you. But also when you've got your notes written, it means that you can refer back to them.
Mm.
Because often we have these wonderful ideas, and then by the end of it, we've forgotten what we said, and oh, that was a really great thought. So I always say, write it down so you can look back at it. So by the end of the walk, we do this process 3 or 4 times during the walk where we stop and I'll go through some questions with them and gradually guide them to an area to a time when they'll sort of plan some actions and the steps they're going to take next. So they've worked through a whole process of looking at that topic, what's good about it, what have they tried before, what do they want from it, narrowing it down to what they could do, and then actually creating some action steps. So they've got a really comprehensive set of notes that they've worked through with some really clear outcomes. And you've done it in the outdoors, you've had some fresh air, you've had a bit of exercise, you've met with other people. So in between the writing bits, when we're walking, I encourage people just to have a chat, get to know each other. Not necessarily, we can chat about what they've written, but it doesn't have to be, so it's a quite informal type of session in some respects. But yeah, people just feel really energized by the end of it. And I love being able to see that from people, the energy in them, and yeah, really, really enjoyable process.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can sense it, can't you, in people, I always think. And just having that, going outside and having that walk, you're physically moving, your body's
Yes.
moving, all
Yeah.
of your body systems, your blood flow, your oxygen, everything's moving so much better in your body. And that helps your mind as well. It helps your mind to get
Yeah.
moving. And as you say, you're asking certain questions every so often. So it helps those ideas to flow, helps to see, problem solving as well.
Yeah.
Creativity is problem solving too. And to have a list of actions as well that they can leave the day and think, okay, this is what I'm going to do now. You kind of jumpstart them to somewhere where they want to get to, whether that is overcoming a challenge or whether it's just talking through things. And I think as well that you mentioned about walking side by side, not being that typical coaching session. There's just something about not necessarily always having to face somebody and feeling in the spotlight quite the same, and you're of that equal level when you're walking side by side with somebody. And yeah, a nice social experience as well. If there's an intimate group, people can get to know each
Yeah.
other. Yeah, it
Yeah.
works, really does. It works wonders. And you also do what you call joy retreats as well, don't you? And I'm curious to know that, because you talk about painting in there, writing, sort of wisdom, well-being, walking. So it's a bit of the outside, it's a bit of the inside, and it's a bit of all of the mindful stuff, I
Yeah.
think, really. And I'm interested to know if that was something that you have done yourself and you know how much it works, or whether it's something more that it's sort of come from the coaching training, and again, it's something that works from the mindfulness. So yeah, if you let the listeners have a little taste of what one of those sessions is like.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I love them. So joy stands for journey of you. So that's where it sort of comes from.
Nice.
And originally I collaborated with one of my coaching clients. She was one of my original coaching clients, and a wonderful lady called Glenda Strong, very passionate about using art for well-being. And particularly she used to love using watercolor painting. She just said the medium works beautifully. And we knew we wanted to work together, but we weren't sure how we would do that. But gradually we got this idea for a retreat. And originally we actually did a residential retreat, and this has morphed from that basically. But we wanted to bring that combination. We both had that desire to help people with their well-being. And like you said, they're all sort of mindful activities. So the idea is that we use watercolor painting as a way to explore that playfulness, that creativity. You don't have to be arty. That's one thing that we really stress. It's not about creating a masterpiece, and it's very abstract. People create abstract things, so she would help them do patterns and use the paint in certain ways, and learning to let go. I think sometimes the reason people don't enjoy art is because it doesn't look like they think it should look. And she was saying, get rid of that idea completely. It's much more about the process and that absorbing type of activity where your mind is just focused on that activity. And we came across something called art attention restoration theory, and it talks about how we get that soft absorption. So our mind is focused on something. So if you're watching TV, you're absorbed, but it's not in the same way. Your mind is drawn into the TV program. When you're doing something creative, it allows your subconscious to work. So, if you come across like the monkey mind and chimp paradox, it gives
Yeah.
honor to the monkey so that actually you come up with all sorts of different ideas and stuff. So we just use that watercolor painting as a way, as a medium for helping women to explore their creativity, but with a focus around well-being. So we have joy 4 times a year, and each one we have a different theme around well-being. Glenda has decided that she wants to focus her attention on something else, a different path. So I'm now working with a lady called Femke, and again, she's a wonderful lady. She does a lot of art for well-being, but she also does Reiki and reflexology, and she brings so many other things as well to this. So I'm really excited about working with Femke. But again, we'll be using that watercolor painting as the way of absorbing people to help them explore. Then we have a really nice lunch. Again, food was really important to us. Sharing a meal with other people is a lovely experience, and it's a vegan lunch. We get somebody in to come and do that for us, and we sit down together and enjoy lunch. And then I take them out on a guided mindful walk. So again, we tap into the surroundings. It's in Lytton in the Peak District, and it's a beautiful village. And it's one, if you feel like you're walking back in time with it, it has a village hall, a post office community shop, and a school, basically, and that's about it. And it's in the White Peaks, you've got these beautiful cottages. So we tap into the outdoors. So we take what we've been doing in the morning and the theme, and then we'll discuss that on the walk, and just use the outdoors to sort of enhance that process, and again just bring some mindfulness to it. And then at the end of the day, we bring everything together, so people walk away with a handful of beautiful artwork that they've done, feeling refreshed, reinvigorated, but having spent time on their own well-being. And it is a joy to be a part of. And I think the joy fits it really well. But we recognize that journey of you, we're forever changing. We're not just one person, and it's about how do we look after ourselves along the way with that. And that's why, again, we have it as a seasonal thing. So we tap into the seasons as well. And that combination of creativity and the outdoors and walking is just such a lovely, wholesome experience. Absolutely love doing it.
Yeah. And if somebody comes on one, they can come on another 3, can't they? If there's different themes and it's different seasons, there's always something else that's going on that they can tap into.
Yeah. And we had one lady come last year, and she'd made a commitment to herself to see that as sort of an anchor throughout the year. So she would come, and on each one, knowing that that was her time just for herself. She ran her own business. She got family to look after, and quite sort of involved in her home life. So actually knowing that she had that to come to each season, it was just, something that she really looked forward to, and she really invested in her own well-being for that and got a lot out of it. So you can come on all of them and you get a different experience every time.
Yeah. And also that social experience, again, if there's other people there that are doing the same thing, it's nice to catch up and kind of learn their own journeys in between each of the joy sessions. What you shared there just sounds amazing, and a lot of value that you've sort of explained to people that they can get some takeaways from already. I think it's, people, you're absolutely right when you say people think that they, perhaps have to do this work of art when they're doing something that's mindful. And to be creative or to be an artist in some way doesn't mean that you've got to be a performer or a painter or a drawer of any kind of, serious or decent level. You can just throw a load of blotches on a canvas if you like, but that means something to that person as well. The abstract that you touched on, I'm a massive believer in the metaphor of nature as well that you mentioned before, but also with a doodle or whatever's going on in your head or whatever you need to perhaps get out there or maybe work through is going to manifest in something, and painting is a great way to do that. I did a couple of drawing courses. It was before lockdown, actually, and I was rubbish. I really was rubbish. I mean, I got better. I could see how learning techniques would help me to get better, but it was so mindful.
Yeah.
It really was. And I did do it. I did I got them behind me. I don't know where they are. I did a journal making course just before
Mm.
Christmas, traditional bookmaking, leather
Yeah.
journals.
Wow.
And we just did the journal making. It would have been lovely to have had a little break, to be honest, and go out for a walk at the same time. But that was so mindful. The day just flew by. And the lady that ran it, she made homemade cake, and I don't think I've ever ate so much cake in one day. Stop feeding me cake. But yeah, it was a lovely experience. And I think just for people to have those sorts of things in their diary once a quarter, yeah, if you could do it once a month, even better, because
Yeah.
we do need to give that time to ourselves. You described a situation there with that particular lady and juggling work, her own business with the kids, and all of that life day-to-day admin
Yeah.
stuff. And
Yeah.
sometimes we do forget about ourselves, and it's important as well to step away from those four walls that you mentioned, that real constraints, and how it comes in on you, because I do believe that it comes in on you if you don't
Yeah.
realize that. To just sort of get out, try something new outside, different environment, different activity, and it just opens your mind up as well to be more, well, just more open to trying new things, and that really does help with
Yeah.
your well-being.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
And like you said, I think that's what we said. We didn't want an activity where it was just all indoors on focused on one thing. We wanted to bring that break in because like you said, it changes the energy when you're going out and coming back in, and you bring that fresh after the walk, you bring that freshness back into the room, and then we finish bits off, but you've got a different mindset almost, and feel it does literally blow away the cobwebs sometimes when you just come back in. Yeah, definitely.
it does. Yeah. I mean, I love how you refer to going outside, and it's been all about the energy, because you are a different person, I think, when you're outside. And I've wrote my latest newsletter, and one of the things that I encourage people to do was to go out on a solo walk, but also to
Mm.
go with a group or with some loved ones, and just then once you're back, just journal about the difference. How did you feel? What was the conversation like, with that person out in the open or in your head, whatever that looked like, and you can have completely different experiences. And yeah, very energetic. I think one of the things with personal development for me was when I realized, actually, it's not necessarily more time that I need, it's more energy that I
Yeah.
need. And when I have more energy, I am so much more productive. And that's just how I wake up in the morning, or what that routine is. When I go out for a run in the morning, I get so much more done during the day. And for me, I've connected with nature, I've had that fresh air, I've got that exercise, and it just, that goes hand in hand with me for then the stuff that I have to do inside, which is a lot, a lot of us have to do, don't we? We do that,
Yeah.
have to have that inside. And I think, just coming back to your point as well about, um, we can be immersed in say watching the television, but that's passive.
Mm.
Whereas, we can be indoors and we can be doing a watercolor, drawing, just, cutting things out of magazines and playing
Yeah.
around with them, all of that playful childlike stuff. That's active, not passive. So again, it's creating a different energy, isn't it, in you
Yeah.
as a person, and what's kind of flowing through your mind and your body.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And what you're saying about that energy, that's become a lot more over the last 12 months. I focus more on that as well because time is precious, but so is our energy, like you said. And that's something that we can adjust, taking notice of the activities that drain us, taking notice of the activities that re-energize us and give us that energy. And I always recommend to people, if you're feeling a little bit sluggish or you're procrastinating, just literally head outdoors, have a brisk walk for 10 minutes, and you'll feel so much more energized and clearer when you come back to it.
Yeah, yeah. I'm quite fortunate because I only live about 5 minutes away from the little town centre that we've got. And I was having a really heavy day, I would say, last week. And I thought, right, I'm going to go to the library. One of the things that we've done in the latest week for the university module was autobiography and autofiction. Never heard of autofiction before.
Yeah.
It's like autobiography. So the writing will come from personal experience, but the different, how I understand it, my take on it was, you purposefully add in imaginary stuff, sci-fi, fantasy, stuff that didn't actually happen, and merge the two together. And I thought, oh, that's brilliant, I love that. Because when you recall a memory, it's not 100% as the experience anyway, is it?
Yeah.
But anyway, what I decided was, I'm not an autobiography person. I don't really read that sort of thing. But I'd always fancied the Matthew McConaughey. Is that I've said his name right? The actor, because he'd written one called Green Lights, and I'd heard him on a podcast. It might have been Dr. Rangan Chatterjee. And I thought, right, I'll go and get that book. I'd misunderstood the library website, so I turned up. They hadn't got it in stock. It was something that was in the whole county, not just the local library. But it was great, and although it was a wasted journey, it wasn't wasted for the fact that I'd spent 15 minutes outside. I'd got the fresh air. When I go outside, I'm very observant as well. I like to
Yeah.
notice things, and I am always the person that I'd probably come on one of your walks. You'd have to keep stopping for me. Because there'd be something I'd see on the ground. I'd spot a stone, a bug somewhere, an image in the clouds. So, and I think that's all part of this whole well-being process of getting to know yourself better, improving your self-awareness. And I think getting outside for people is a jump start to that. You can learn that sort of thing in a classroom, sure, but you've got to be, it's kind of, I don't know. Do you remember the Ready Brack adverts?
Yeah.
Yeah, like giving you that kind of extra energy by
Yeah.
being outside. So I think
Yeah.
what you do is fantastic.
And like you said, take notice is one of the 5 ways to well-being. And I'm like that as well. My partner will say, how did you spot that bird? I'm just, drawn by something flying across or a colour or something like that. And I think being able to engage in your surroundings just enhances that experience. Often people head down, is looking at the phone or thoughts, running through the head, they're running late or whatever, so they don't take notice of anything. And you miss so much that's going
Yeah.
on around you. Just tune in. What's the different sounds that you hear? Often hear different types of bird, not just one. You hear several types of birds, or the wind in the trees, or whatever it is, and just being able to take notice of your surroundings. Again, just I don't know, for me, that means that I'm more present and mindful. I know that I'm present when I'm taking notice of my environment.
Yeah, definitely. And that's how we need to live, isn't it? In the present. This day and age, we worry so much about the past. I mean, past experience do influence how we think about the future and some of the decisions we make, and there is still a need for that, I think. But yeah, that it becomes a problem when we live in the past or we live in the future. We don't live in the present. And I heard something. I think it might have been Eckhart Tolle, again, a podcast, and he was saying that now we've got four realities. So there's the past, the present, the future, but there's also the virtual, which is what the up and coming
Oh, yeah.
generations live in, which I thought I'd not heard before. I thought, wow, yeah, because, you know, they think that's real quite often, some of these YouTube skits and things that are on there. And it's not real life, and all of that editing process, and all of the kind of OTT with things, over the top with things. It's not life. So I think taking a step away from all of that and get back to, the ancient ways, if you like, of
Yeah.
nature, and just what's natural and all around us, and none of the artificial stuff
Yeah.
almost.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Definitely.
I'd love to live off the grid and in the middle of nowhere, and
No.
I'd have to still see, we're still social creatures, aren't we? So although I say I
Yeah.
prefer not to be around people, I think you do need a boost of people every so
Yeah.
often. But yeah, it's fascinating. I wrote down something that was on your was it on your website, or was it on your LinkedIn? I can't remember, because you bring a lot of those metaphors for nature in your LinkedIn content, and I think
Yeah.
everything that you put there, there's always a little lesson or a gem that people can take. So I definitely
Thank
recommend
you.
everyone to connect with Rebecca on LinkedIn. But you put, I've been lost, found myself, developed skills, increased my resilience, built relationships, and fallen in love, all in the outdoors. And I thought that was lovely, because you're drawing in so much from life that people can relate to there, from sort of professional and personal.
Yeah.
And that just sort of encapsulate, it just pulls everything together, I think, that the great outdoors offers.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
All those, and again, you can take those literally and metaphorically with some of those things. But I've experienced so many different things in the outdoors,
Yeah.
and it's definitely character building, as well. It's yeah, I love it.
Yeah, eye openers for sure. They are. So I just want to touch on a couple of things. So for more on the writing side as well as Great Outdoors, because you do your own content, you've put the courses and things together. And am I right in thinking that you also contribute to a professional magazine as well?
No, I haven't done that. I've written an ebook, so that was
Okay.
for a company called Bookboon. So I was
Mm,
approached to write a book. That was during lockdown. But I've just literally in the last week or two started on my own journey of writing a proper book. But it will
brilliant.
be a published book this time, probably self-published.
Yeah.
But I have started on that. So I had an idea in my head for probably at least 12 months, probably a bit longer. And I didn't know whether I wanted it as a book, a course, a coaching model. But I've opted to go for the book, and then I will take it from there, I think.
Yeah.
So that's exciting and a little bit scary as well. But I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, another challenge for you to face the fear again, though.
Exactly, yeah.
Face the fear and do it. But that's great. I mean, you produce a book, and then that same content can be repurposed then
Yeah.
to a course, to broken up into different snippets of things. There's a lot of options, isn't there, after you've written that book? So can you give us any teasers, or do you not want to say too much at the
It
moment?
will be, so I've talked about it in different places, but so it's rhythm. So it's a model that I've created. So I'll be talking about that. And it's about how to find balance in life. So I'm more inclined to start using the word rhythm than balance, because I think people often think that, balance is either 50-50 or just something that can be easily split, where actually I find that life isn't as easy as that. And, we have ups and downs depending on what we're going through, the season, all sorts of different things. So it's about finding that rhythm. So it might be that we've got a project to work on for 6 months, which means that we'll be less able to do the things that we enjoy because we're focused on that. But after that 6 months, it'll change again. So there's a natural flow and ebb to life. And so it's helping people find that rhythm in life.
Yeah, I love that word. I think balance is overused. It's been watered down as well. And I think also, particularly in the coaching world, people talk about life work balance, and I don't agree with that. I think if you love what you do, you don't really see it as work. It just becomes everything is just part of life,
Yeah,
and how you enjoy that whole all of the different facets of life. So I think rhythm is great, because to me that sort of talks about getting in my own rhythm
yes,
and doing things that are aligned with my values and my purpose, intentionally doing things, and letting life, how is it phrased? Life happens for me, not to me. Is that
yes,
the
yeah,
right? Well, yeah. Yeah. So yeah, and just helping people to become more aware of when they are in rhythm. You mentioned before about, what energetically drains us and what
yeah,
sort of lights the fuse. And oh, it sounds fascinating. I should
yeah.
make sure you add it to Audible as well, so that I can get a download. I love a physical book. I mean, you can see a bookshelf here. Most of them are double stacked. I've got another one downstairs that's twice this size, that's double stacked as well. But I get through the audio ones easier, because although when I go for a walk, I don't tend to listen to things, because I'm like you, I'm listening for the bird sound, what's going on, but certainly in the car. And I have
Yeah.
actually taken a speaker in the bathroom with me. So when I have a shower in the
Yeah.
morning, maybe that's getting a bit too detailed, but I just think, 20 minutes or so when I'm in there, I can have a little bit of learning as well. Because like you, I think I've read somewhere that you've always been a lifelong learner. And
Yeah.
I think I'd much rather listen to a podcast or read a book or something than sticking the TV on.
Oh
I think
yeah.
there's far more benefits from it. And it keeps us more open-minded as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah. So just one more thing before we draw to a close. I could talk to you. Yeah, I think I ought to start having these podcasts being about an hour long, because they always seem to just grow, and I have more questions for people. But I think I read somewhere that you do park run.
Yes,
You
I
do
do.
park runs, yeah.
Yeah.
And I love running. I was one of those people that hated it at school, the cross country that we did. And then I've been a bit of a gym buddy on and off. but I'd hated the treadmill as well. So I always thought I couldn't run until a friend introduced me to trail running,
Okay.
which is my go-to, and I love it. And I think because I love the outdoors so much, it just ticks a couple of boxes for me. But I do like parkrun because of the social aspect, and you
Yeah.
can have a quick blast in the morning, and it doesn't take too long. And you've done over 150 park runs, have you?
Yeah, I think I'm on about 154 now. It's taken me quite a
Wow.
while to get there. Certainly, the last 50 I've probably achieved quicker than the first 100. But yeah, I did enjoy that. Yeah, so I did my 150th autumn last year, I think it was. So I've done a few more since then, and I love doing it. It's become a tradition for me on Christmas Day.
Mm.
My local park run has a Christmas Day one, and it's lovely because people get dressed up. There's a real fun atmosphere to it, and it's just a really nice way of starting Christmas Day. So I think I've done it about probably the last 4 years
Yeah.
on Christmas Day. Yeah, I really enjoy that.
Brilliant. And for those people that don't know what parkrun is, it's an international phenomenon now, isn't it? Where 9 o'clock every Saturday morning you can go out and run 5K or
Yeah,
3 miles at your local park. I think there's one on a Sunday as well for children, which is
yeah, it's
2K,
a new
is
one.
it?
Hmm.
Yeah. And yeah, it's just a great atmosphere, but people can walk it as well. So
Yeah,
you don't have to run it. So there's a lot of walkers. There's people pushing pushchairs, running and walking with pushchairs. People take their
yes,
dogs. So it's a really nice atmosphere. And if for anyone that wants to sort of have a reason to get outside and start walking, then that's an activity I think that people can enjoy. And I've done Christmas Day once a couple of years ago, but we have my partner's daughter for 3 days of the week, and if that falls on a weekend, she did do parkrun with us for a few weeks actually. I was really excited, but then she just went off the idea completely. But we did New Year's Day this year,
oh,
which
okay,
was
yeah,
really, really good because it's freezing cold.
yeah,
And I did create a post on LinkedIn about it because I saw a kingfisher for the first
oh, yeah,
time.
yeah,
And yeah, I've never seen one in the flesh or in the feathers, I think I worded it as. And I just thought, oh, that's a sign for this year, encouragement to just get out and do things and you'll be fine. But hardly anybody saw it. And I think that again comes from being observant and
yeah,
aware of your surroundings and not just kind of being tunnel vision and
yeah.
looking in front of you. So yeah, so it's been fabulous to chat to you, Rebecca. I've really enjoyed it. Is there anything that you want to sort of just leave with the listeners as a bit of a takeaway about well-being, or the outside? Anything that you want to say, perhaps it's helped you or that you see helps clients the most?
Thank you. I think it is. We do have to make time for well-being. A lot of people say I haven't got time. We haven't got time not to, and it doesn't have to take long. It can literally be 5-10 minutes a day, even if it is as simple as getting outside 5 minutes, blast of fresh air, and you'll feel so much better for it afterwards. It really is worth the investment.
Yeah, walk to the end
Yes.
and the road and back.
Yeah, definitely.
Brilliant. Well, it's been lovely to talk to you. Thank you so much for your time. We'll include some links in the show notes of how people can get in touch with you, how people can connect with you, and also links to the various retreats. And so, one thing I did want to ask you actually, you got the starter for 10, which is a new year, 10
Yeah,
habits, 10 minutes, which is a great concept.
yeah.
Is that something that you're going to roll out throughout the year as well? Because we can do it at
No,
any
I
time.
I only do
Oh,
this. I only do this in January, so this is probably my 5th year of running it. I did one year do it in September, but it's a lot when I'm promoting different things. And actually, I realised that for people, starting in January is a really good time of year to do it. And it's a really nice kickstart to your year. So that's what I say to people. If you miss it in January, you've got to wait until the next one. So it'll be running. So that finished Wednesday last week. So it'll be on again next January.
right. Okay. Well, when this podcast goes out, I think it'll be early February. So, yeah, people will have a little bit less time to wait until that starts again. But so I thought it was a great example of sort of micro habits and starting
Yeah,
small and then building up. Yeah.
yeah, it is.
Brilliant. Well, lovely. Thank you very much for your time. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
Thank you for listening to today's Writing with Purpose podcast. Having conversations with fellow writers or adventure enthusiasts brings two of my biggest loves in life together, writing and nature connection. I've been a copywriter and content creator for 23 years, but my passion is writing for wellbeing, and I'm on a mission to share the benefits that putting pen to paper has for personal wellness with as many people as possible. If you want to learn more about writing for your wellbeing and journaling techniques, please connect with me in my Facebook group, Journaling with Anna.